Well, the time is just gone 20 minutes past 8 as we kick off this morning, taking a look at our neighbors. We are looking at Botswana. They have got a new president, Duma Boko. And this comes after the electoral defeat delivered to the Botswana Democratic Party. And this was a party that was comfortable. They were since independence, since 1966. Now, we always hear the cliche, all good things don't last forever. And after 58 years, we've seen the BDP being defeated. And this is by the umbrella for democratic change, the coalition, which won 36 seats, and the Botswana Congress Party 15. And what does this actually mean for Botswana? And now that they have a new president in Duma Boko, we will find out shortly who is he, what does he stand for, what challenges does he face in his new role. And to unpack all of this, we joined from Gaborone by Bothale Koothupile. Bothale, good morning to you, sir, and welcome to the show.
Good morning, Wade. It's a pleasure to be on your show today.
Yes, are you surprised that after 58 years in a power, the Botswana Democratic Party finally has been defeated? I mentioned all good things don't last forever, and we know politically this is a trend right across the entire world where parties can only rule for a certain period of time. And I'm not too sure whether they became too comfortable thinking that they could obviously run the country forever. But now we see the political landscape changing in Gaborone and in Botswana in general.
Wade, to be precise, the the defeat of BDP was long coming, but it is the manner in which they were defeated, the margins with which they defeated, that really surprised or shocked the many of us here. But if you look at the trend in the past 10 years, or 14 years to be precise, since the presidency of former President Ian Khama, you could see that the landscape was changing. It was only a matter of time.
Yes. Now, looking at what we have got right now, and we're talking about the umbrella for democratic change, the coalition, and we see it here in South Africa as well now that we have a coalition government, and it is made up of a number of parties led by Duma Boko. Now, we know that Boko is a human rights lawyer as well, a social democrat. And let's just talk about this man. Let's unpack, let's understand Duma Boko and his role as a president. Who is he? What does he stand for? What are some of the issues, particularly challenges that he faced with now? He is faced with in his new role.
Mhm. As you rightly said, Duma Boko is reputed as a human rights lawyer. If you remember well, he was heavily involved in the case that involved Basara and CKGR. He was working along with Bennett, who, if you remember, is among the names of people whose ban were lifted yesterday by Duma Boko. So for a long time, he's been involved in the fight for better lives for the people of Botswana, for the marginalized people of Botswana as well, and for the workers. So Duma Boko came to politics or to active politics in 2010 when he was voted as the leader of Botswana National Front. At that time, many within the BNF were not exactly keen on seeing him ascend to the leadership of BNF. It was divided into two. Some were supporting Olibile Gaborone, some were supporting Duma Boko. But in the end, despite the travails that happened, despite what happened, he managed to emerge victorious, despite being BNF trying to bar him from standing. He had the support of the workers' unions, he had the support of the youth leagues, and eventually he managed to assume leadership. 2 years after assuming that leadership, he was leading the coalition talks which involved the breakaway party from Botswana Democratic Party then. If you remember, it was during Khama's presidency in 2012, and Botswana Democratic Party was falling apart. They birthed Botswana Movement for Democracy under the leadership of some of its young cadres like the late Homolo Motsoaledi, the current President Vice President Ndabahaola, who was not prominent then. It was then the birth of what we see today as the umbrella for democratic change. And in that year, if you remember, 2011, it was what we call the mother of all strikes in Botswana, and workers were not happy with what was happening because they felt like the government of Ian Khama was oppressive, and they were eager to change the political landscape of Botswana. Unfortunately, in 2014, it never happened. We were so close in terms of how we are moving forward as in terms of opposition, but we never made it there, which set a precedent for 2019. Unfortunately, between 2014 and 2019, our political parties, opposing political parties, could not form a coalition as expected. The coalition was shaky, which resulted with the dismissal of BMD from the coalition. BMD eventually broke, and it birthed a Alliance for Progressives, which Ndaba led, which was led by Ndabahaola then. Leading to 2019 elections or 2019 elections, the main members of the umbrella for democratic change became Botswana Congress Party and Botswana National Front. They were led by Boko, but the performance was not so good as one would expect. In fact, it was not better than what happened in 2014. So now comes in Masisi, 2019. He wins the presidential elections after being appointed by Khama. And that was the architect or the beginning of the fall of Botswana Democratic Party, because of what we call succession plans of Botswana, automatic succession plan within the Botswana Democratic Party. It meant that Masisi, after Khama appointed him, became president without competing with anyone for that post. Unfortunately, or fortunately for Botswana, unfortunately for Khama and Masisi and BDP, fortunately maybe for the opposition, the relationship between Khama and Masisi soured thereafter, and that led to where we are right now. But the most important thing which we should note at this moment in time, Wade, is that BDP on its own is the main architect of its own downfall in these circumstances. Because Masisi, when he came out, when he came into power, he came as someone who was not ready to lead. He never had outright policies of what he wanted to achieve while in power. Under his leadership, Botswana became a kleptocratic government sort of, or system of government. In terms of looting of national resources became high. Oppression of opposition became more marked, more especially looking at the use of the DIS or the intelligence services to monitor and to suppress the opposition movement. Also, another thing which happened in that period, which I think was the consolidation of heavy-handedness of government on several of its institutions, which include the judiciary, which eventually led to where we are right now.
Yes. Now, just looking at Botswana as a nation, and obviously it's not a big country in terms of population, but clearly it's a country that has got so much potential. It's a country that has stood out more than a lot of its neighbors at this point in time, and particularly with regard to its resources as well. And again, a country that has got so much potential, both from a human capital perspective and in terms of economics, in terms of what the country can actually provide for the country. Now, this is a country that is relatively young. We are led to believe that 70% of the population is below 35 years old. Yet, we see there seems to be a lot of poverty, and also at the same time, looking at Duma Boko, where he is coming from, his background as a human rights lawyer, and also believing firmly in social justice, which played a large part as far as his campaign this time around. The challenges, what sort of challenges does he face with right now as he takes over the country as the president?
Look, because of the mismanagement of state resources, which happened in the past 5 years of President Masisi's reign, Boko comes in at the time when the country is facing an uncertain future, when the government coffers are depleted. So, as you said, Botswana has invested a lot in human capital. In that period, we've seen a rise in unemployment because the people or the human capital that it produces is now unemployed. And these, as we said, are the people who are, youth, aged between 20, 35. And these are the people who we should say were the architects of this downfall of BDP because of their feeling of uncertainty about the future. And if you look at Boko and his campaign manifesto, there were a lot of there were a lot of things that you could pick that would would appeal to the public. Number one, because of our poverty, rife poverty, he promised that there will be unemployment benefits. He promised another thing that the pension or the pension for people who are over 60 will be increased to 1,500. It was currently at 800. He promised basic minimum wage of 4,000 for employees, and these were attractive to the population, which is suffering from high prices due to inflation, and which was uncertain about its future because of the mismanagement of funds. So his campaign, we can say, was based on social justice. The promise that we'll have access to better health, promises that we'll have access to better infrastructure, promises that we'll have better access to education. Those are the promises that made Boko Boko and his UDC stand out ahead of these elections.
Yes. Just looking at immediately, what does Boko need to focus on to succeed?
That one is a difficult one because in his promises, he promised first and foremost that immediately after taking government, he'll increase the minimum living wage. So he has to act on that. Another promise was that because of unemployment, he promised that in the first 12 months of his government, there will be 100,000 jobs created. And I think this will be the milestones in which his government will be judged. And he has to deliver because, as he could have seen, the youth, unlike maybe those who came before us, are impatient. They want jobs. They want better lives. So these are the most pressing issues. And then there's the health system, which is collapsing because unlike in the past, where Botswana had medication, pills, and everything at the hospitals. These are no longer there. They are no longer available as it was. So these are pressing issues which Boko would have to deal with at this moment in time. And another one, big one, will be the issue of diamonds, because right now we have issue of a slump in diamond funds, and the issue with DBS, which is always felt like it was a catalyst, also a catalyst. So Boko has to deal with that with immediate effect.
Yes, and a leader is just as good as the people he is surrounded with. And looking at this new government and the people that surround Boko, and these are people obviously that he will choose carefully to form part and parcel of his government. Just what are some of your thoughts on the people around him, and to make sure that Boko succeeds in what he sets out to do?
Look, I believe that Boko has everything he needs to succeed right now. He has the right people. It's only a matter of can he pick the right people to lead his portfolios. In Dabahawalati, he has a very, very intelligent person who knows how to deal with issues of the economy. So this is the person who we expect to lead the portfolio as the vice president and minister of finance probably, and he'll be tasked with dealing with Botswana's financial budgets in this period of time. He also have people like Dr. Marcus Chimbombi, who is also very well versed in issues of agriculture. And because he has to diversify the economy, agriculture will be one of the uh, areas which we have to actively look at. So, in terms of the people and the resources, the B and the UDC has every person that it needs to succeed.
Yes, Bothale, so no, we need to. Obviously, we've run out of time, but I'm sure we will be watching the space. But at the end of the day, I think obviously the elections have gone quite well. They've gone very, very peacefully, and which is a good sign. Actually, we know the people of Botswana are peace-loving people as well, and at the end of the day, it's now up to the new government to obviously take on, put the shoulders to the wheel. A lot of work obviously lies ahead to produce the desired results as well. And, obviously, when one looks at what's happened next door to Mozambique and the chaos, and we see the anarchy and the looting and all of that taking place. Thankfully, that hasn't happened in Botswana, because Botswana people obviously are very, very peace loving people. And I'm sure that they will be embracing this change. But more importantly, in terms of the expectations, we trust and hope that Duma Boko will be able to meet those expectations for the stability for the future, and more importantly, for the well-being of the country. For now, we thank you. We do appreciate you taking time out, talking to us this morning, right out of Botswana. All the best to you.
Thank you. And the people of Botswana embracing the change. They are happy to see change for a start after almost 6 decades.
Thank you. Well, that was Bothale Koothupile joining us this morning, Botswana-based journalist with the Sunday Standard and the Telegraph. Botswana, obviously, a major change after 50 odd years of rule. We find that the ruling party no longer in power. We will watch that space with interest. Next up, we're joined by renowned Zimbabwean anti-sanctions activists, taking a look at South African politics, in particular the economic freedom fighters. Are we seeing, or are we witnessing the beginning, the end of the EFF?